Hi, I'm here with Elizabeth Lavender, sci-fi fantasy author of the Sunspear series. She's going to tell us all about her books and her awesome writing. So I can't wait to dive in. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Yes, of course. The Sunspear series, do you want to just jump in and tell us all about it?
Cool. Yeah, I will. It is sci-fi fantasy, so it's got its hands in both sides. I couldn't decide which one, so I just had it in both. But it has right now it has 3 books out. I am currently writing the 4th one in the series. So the first one out is The Spinning of Deception, the second one is Deception's Hold, and the third one out is Shadowed Bonds. But our story opens up with 2 Sunspear bearers. The first one is named Dante, and the other one is named just the girl. She does not get a name until the 3rd book in the series, but that's not her real name. So as you keep going in the series, you'll find out why. Well, you'll get inklings of why. So you still will not get the full story until the actual last book in the series. But anyway, so we open up with that. The girl in the series, she is trained as a Sunspear bearer, but she is done in secret because there are some issues with that. You'll find out that she has kind of a dysfunctional family that plays both sides of the things. So we also have Dante, and he is also fighting against the Dark Lord and his army. But his dad is fighting with the Dark Lord. So you find out as you continue through the series exactly why they're on opposite sides of things. So that's where our story starts. They're fighting against this Dark Lord, Black Dragon, this huge threat. And there is an event that has happened in the past that comes to light, the truth of what actually happened, and that's what pretty much springboards the rest of the events. So once the truth of that has happened or found out, then that puts Dante on a task that he has to undertake, and so he has to undertake that task, and it's a dangerous one. And the way he learns about that is from our girl. She has a gift of visions, and she makes that known to him. But he still does not meet her ever. So he finds out about that. And so there's a lot going on in the series. But that event has repercussions to what's going on at the present. And that task that he has to do is huge. So that's all in the first book. And then the second book opens up with him having to go do that task. And also the girl and her companion or comrade are trying to find out what the Dark Lord is up to, because there's something else going on. He's building something, or he's up to something that spells total disaster on the whole galaxy. So they're working for the same thing, but they're working separately, and you're going to find out why they're having to do that. So
okay, and is it dual point of view, or is it a third person point of view?
It's third person, but so you're getting in both of their heads. So, and then there's a lot of supporting cast there that they both have teachers that are it's kind of has a Star Wars feel as far as that, the sci-fi part of it. They both have, like I said, teachers that are guiding them in what they need to do. And sometimes they're a little bit more directed than what the girl and Dante appreciate, but they get their point across. So
very cool. So what is a Sunspear bear?
The Sunspear is the weapon that they use. It's a half spear, half sword. And as you get into the first book, it'll talk about what it actually looks like. But it's basically, like I said, half spear, half sword. It has a jewel in the middle of it. And the reason it's called a Sunspear is because the light, the jewel in the middle catches the natural light that's outside. So if it's the sun's out or the moon or something, then it catches the light. So,
Oh, okay. So they're Sunspear bearers. So
yeah,
they're
they bear the Sunspear.
oh,
So,
okay. They're soldiers. Okay.
yeah.
Great. I just want to make sure I was hearing that right and they weren't some kind of different kind of alien character that I wasn't sure what we were talking about. And all your characters human?
Yes, yes.
Okay. But some of them, like you said, just a girl has certain powers, perhaps.
She has gifts.
Okay.
So there's some other gifts, but they're not as you get into the story, you'll kind of pick up on those.
What's interesting to me, does Dante know this girl like before all of this, or but they don't, you said they don't meet either.
They have
right?
a connection. There is a connection that starts to build as you get to this, as you get into the story, because through the visions that she's seeing of his, of what's happened of this past event, because the past event has to do with his family, something that happened in his family. So when she sees the visions, it's not just seeing, she experiences everything that has to do with the vision. So she finds that she builds quite a connection with him through, and so that connection is going to be very important throughout the series. And so the third book is actually, parts of it read differently. It reads more in the category of a romance. I'll just say that, just because, like I said, there is a connection that starts to build, and he starts to feel a connection, but he doesn't know really what's going on with that, just because he's told this person has these visions of his family, and these people seem to go out of their way to try to help his group and look out for him in a way. So
Neat. But it's interesting to me that he would just trust her visions. Like he
um
would trust that they were right. I mean, what if they weren't right?
well, there's one of the visions that she gets in the first book about the event. It reveals something else, and because of what she does to help him with that, there's no reason for him not to trust her.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So
because the titles of the first two books both have deception in there. So I'm guessing there's a lot of deception going on.
yes, and most of that deception has to do with our Dark Lord. Okay. And the reason why Dante's father is on the other side of it, because of what he believes about that past event, like what happened, what he believes happened in that, and then the girl's vision of what actually did happen. So
okay, and the name of the third book is Shadowed Bonds. So yes. Something that maybe we don't know or is in the shadows or secret, right?
Yes, well, a lot of the third book is more about bonds that have already been created, kind of like what we're talking about, that the two Sunspear bearers already have a bond that's being created. So that's a good bond. But there's also some bonds that are being created because of things that have happened in the first and second book, that because of some of the things that the Dark Lord can do and has done, that those are not good bonds. But even the good bonds that are being created, like between Dante and the girl, there's always a shadow over them, because there's always the black dragon. There's always that threat. So it's always shadowed, because it could be broken at any point because of what they could do. The other thing is the girl, as you get into her story, there's a reason why her identity can't be told. She has, like I said, her family is dysfunctional, but you're going to find that her dad is not a nice person at all. And he does play both sides of it. And so she has a lot of internal battles and internal demons that she has to deal with. And so in book 3, those really come full force battlefield. And so those that are inside really come out externally, like you can see them manifested outside. And so that's a lot of the shadowed part too, that even though there's this good bond that's being created, she's having to deal with this other that's threatening that too. So
Very
there's a
cool.
lot going on in book 3, but it's got kind of a different feel to it in parts too. So
I always like a little romance, no matter what genre I'm reading in. I
yes,
like to see a little bit of a love story,
yes.
at least a little bit.
Well, it's book 3, like I said, is more, but the first 2 books, it's hinted. So
Very cool. And you said you're writing the 4th book. Is that the last book in the series, or are there more?
it's probably going to take at least 6 books. I'm just not sure how many more after that. Just I know how the last battle is going to go. I know what that looks like. I know events that are going to need to take place to get me there. But as far as like how many books it's going to take, and I'm not really sure, but I know it's going to at least take me 6, but it may take more than that. So
That's exciting. How did you come up with the premise or the idea for the series?
well, it's had a lot of influences, but it's one of those things that I had just a general idea in my head, and then as time has gone on, because I've had this idea like probably like 20 something years in my head, but it's just one of those things that once I had like the general idea, then more of it just started coming together, and then it started filling in. So I find that the writing itself is not a problem because I've already got so much of it written in my head. So now when I start typing it, it's just literally from my head to the paper or to the keyboard. So, but I mean, it has some influence. Like I said, it does have a lot of Star Wars feel as far as the technology and the space and that kind of thing. It has some in like as far as fantasy, it's got some Tolkien, like just the battle scenes and the epic kind of feel. When my earliest fantasy thing was probably the Alexander series, the Chronicles of Pyrrhon. I love that series, so it's got some of that. And then there's I you're gonna people are probably not familiar with this, but on the sci-fi side, I used to love the series, the Buck Rogers series. It's like an old one, but so it has a lot of different things from the sci-fi side too. And I enjoy Star Trek too, the earlier ones with like Captain Kirk and Archer and stuff. I didn't really like the other ones as much just because the characters didn't seem as relatable. I guess I liked Captain Kirk just punching everybody, and he just seemed more relatable, just the way he was just so cocky and just, so the sci-fi and the fantasy was pretty much there. It's got also the whole, I like to do a lot of more internal battles and stuff. And some of that is a counselor in me because I am a full-time counselor. So I do like to kind of mess around with their minds. And so I don't know what that says about me, but anyway.
I see you going like this.
I know, I really do. When I'm doing some of the scenes with the villains and the Dark Lord where he's like messing around with their minds and stuff and trying to play with it, I really do some of that. So sorry. But so I really get into like messing with their minds a little bit and having them do those internal battles. And so a lot of that actually comes from, I enjoy Frank Peretti stuff and Ted Dekker stuff. And they have a lot of like that supernatural, unseen kind of battlefield going in all their books. And so I like to play with that a lot, that other battlefield that's always going on. So that's where that other influence comes
I'm going to be rooting for your characters to find balance in their lives.
Yes, they really need it because I put them through a lot of stuff. Like one of the questions I got from somebody was, do you have like a medical background? Because your characters are always getting hurt. They're like, and it's like, no, I really don't. I just I make that part up as I go along. But yeah, I do put them through a lot. So
You kind of have to. I mean, you have to like take them down into the mud before you can bring them out of the swamp, right? So
you do.
it
You
wouldn't be
do.
a
Like,
good book if they didn't have some turmoil and challenges in their lives. So yeah.
yeah, I had one of my friends too that she read. It would have been the first book, or maybe yeah, it was the first one, and she was like, "What? You just gave me a heart attack. I thought they were goners," and I was like, "Well, that's not going to be the first time you think that." So, and she's like, "I don't know if I can keep reading. You can't do this." I was like, "Sorry, it is what it is." So.
Yeah, I have to do research on medical stuff sometimes. I'll be like, oh, what's it like to have a collapsed lung? I have no idea how long you have to heal from that, so I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. So yeah, I do some, yeah, they're, you should feel a little sorry for them, but it's okay. Don't.
Yeah, and I totally get like how just the story just continues to grow in your brain. I woke up the other night and I was like, oh, I have an idea of how this person gets from this place to this place.
Exactly.
And it's all up here and I can't write it yet. So yeah, it's frustrating.
It is, because I have that last battle scene all like planned out. I can already see or hear the dialogue, already see some of the scenes, and I'm like, okay, I've got such a long way to go before I get there. Dang it.
I know, and some people are like, why don't you just write it down right now? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never done that. Like I just keep it in my head and I keep it growing. Something about putting it down on paper. I don't know. Some people tell me they skip around, like they'll write the big battle scene, and I have done that a little bit, but it's more like I know where I want to go, and then I have to figure out how to get them there.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm like that too. So
okay, very cool.
I get it.
So you talked about loving Tolkien. What are your other influences as far as books and authors you love?
Those are probably the main ones. Now I've always loved Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. That's one of my favorite all-time books. I think I've seen it on stage like 3 times at least. So I read that back in 10th grade and it's stuck with me. I just love the whole story of the way the sacrifice and the story, the whole redemption arc with Jean Valjean. So that actually is a big influence on the books too, that whole storyline. And then the other one is probably The Count of Monte Cristo. And I really like Edmond Dantes from that. Just the way, I don't know if you've read that one, but
yeah, I have. I remember reading it.
I love.
I don't think I've read it since then, but yeah,
I read that one in 10th grade too, but that one stayed with me. But I just love the way after he emerges from prison, the way he takes and he doles out his revenge, but he doesn't just, just shoot them or something. He finds out all of their secrets and he literally shatters them. And then that's how he does his revenge. So, and then of course he realizes after he's done, he's like, I probably went too far, but it's kind of too late now. So sorry.
No.
Yeah, it's done. Can't undo it. So that one actually has a lot of influence on the books too, on whether for good or bad, because there is a lot of deception in the books. And I said the Dark Lord mainly, and it really is him mainly, but there is deception in some other places, just because. And for the other ones, it's more of a survival thing because they have to do it. Like the girl has to do it some, and her mom has to do it some just to stay surviving in the environment they're put in. The girl uses it later on because she can't reveal who she really is. So she finds herself having to go under in enemy lines to get information. Sometimes she has a cover as a shipping dealer to try to get information. So she finds herself in bars and stuff a lot, not just because that's where a lot of the information and the business takes place on the planets in this case. So she has to blend in. So there is deception in a lot of other places, but it's not always for bad. Sometimes it's for good. So
there's shades of gray, right?
right. So I do a lot of that. So that book, just the way he came back and, he dismantled all of his enemies by using deception. And so that it does have a place in my book. So
You're looking to me like a very dark mind and someone who can create those very dark, mentally, psychologically dark characters. So I'm seeing a lot of depth here, which is very cool.
Yeah, my husband, he read he's read all the books, but he read a scene from the third book, one of the characters I had created that kind of gets inside my girl's head, one of her manifestations of some of her demons in her head. And he finished reading it and he was just like, he looked at me and he said, "That was really disturbing, Liz." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, good, because it was supposed to be." So and he just it was late at night at that point, and he just looked at it and he's like, "I'm going to bed now." And it was just
he's gonna lock his door, right?
Like, "Please don't follow me. Maybe you should sleep out here tonight." And I'm like, "What?" Your villains have to be villains. They have to be good, right? Because if they're not, then they're not worth fighting. So
there you go. And are you going to have backstories? I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of backstories for your villains.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I have and with the girl too, she's got like, I don't tell who she is and what's going on with her, but there's always going to be things, there's going to be flashbacks, and there's going to be things that are said that will always give you a clue. It's going to give you a clue of what's going on, but it won't make sense until the very end. It's kind of like I'm not sure if you've ever watched this movie or if but the movie The Sixth Sense.
Oh, right. Yeah, I love that movie.
Okay. So it's kind of like that. Because when I'm watching it, and I don't know if you did this, but I know I did it when I was watching, I was like, okay, well, I know what's going on. Okay, he's this, and the psychologist, he's like listening to him and and then you get to the end and that moment happens when you're like, oh wow, like I didn't know anything of what's going on because he was, yeah. So you remember that moment when you're like, and they start replaying everything and you're like, oh, that's what was going on there. That's why he did this. And she ignored him. And so it all makes sense. So it's going to be kind of like that. Then when you go back and replay through it, you're going to be like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. Like why she did everything and she said those things. And yeah. So
that's very cool to be able to weave a story like that. So how long do we have to wait for all these books?
Well, usually it's probably going to be at least a year between them, simply because I work full time. And like today, I'm actually off because our office is closed for MLK Day here. But otherwise, I would be at work and I'll have work 8 to 5. So normally I do all my writing in the evenings and on the weekends. And I only go to bed at like midnight on the weekdays, and that's only because I know I have work the next day and I have kids to get to school. But usually on the weekends I'm up till like 3 and 4 in the morning, and I know I'm like a night owl. Like I've been accused of being half vampire because I don't need sleep, but I sleep in the next day because I don't have to be at work or anything. So because I think better, like I work better at night, and my storylines, I get inspiration So I'm not sure, once again, what that says about me, that
It
my
sounds like
story comes together at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning.
I can tell you're very passionate about this, and I can imagine your work is pretty stressful. So I can think that this helps you escape from that of seeing.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But I do enjoy my work. Like I said, I'm a counselor during the day, and so I enjoy working with my clients. So that part is not stressful. Of course, every job there's going to be something you don't like about it. I don't enjoy doing case monitorings and just sending out reports. Those are parts of my job that I don't enjoy, but because it doesn't involve interacting with my clients. So, but the rest of it, I enjoy my job. But yeah, when I do come home, I'm spent. Like, I want to go to another realm, because I'm like, okay, I've had enough of that. But usually I'm going from one laptop to another, because but it is what it is. So, but yeah,
That's how I started writing too. Is like after I put my kids to bed, I started doing that to entertain myself. So yeah.
So, but that is a thing. Usually it does take me at least a year, simply because just the time factor. And it's not just the writing. When you're self-published, you have to do everything. Like, you have to do the writing, you have to do any marketing for the other books and newsletters and stuff, and all that is on you. So all that gets done in that limited amount of time. So, like, I just finished doing a book review for a book I just finished for somebody else. So because I've learned, I always knew how valuable those book reviews were, but like, as an author, I've realized how valuable those book reviews are. So wanted to make sure that I did that once I finished that book for somebody else. So yeah.
Well, I'm sure your readers appreciate all that you do. This is my favorite question to ask authors. What do you want your readers to experience when they're reading your book?
Oh, wow. I think it's pretty much the call of every author. I want them to have an amazing read. I want them to be able to escape from their world for a little while and come into my world. And I want them to fall in love with my characters and my world and my storyline as much as I have. I want the characters to become living and breathing. I want them to living and breathing to them, not just characters on a page. I want the characters' fight to become their fight. I want them to get into it. Like, I want them to be sad for my characters and shattered when my characters are shattered, and even irritated with them if they need to, like, so whatever it might be, I want them to be ready to put a Sunspear through that villain, just like Dante or the girl are. I want them to be ready to fight for them, just like I am when I'm reading through. I think that's what every author wants. They want, I want them to be captured by the story and be pulled in. Yeah, that's, I think that's what every author wants.
I can say I'm already pulled in. I love doing these podcasts, but the only problem is that almost every person I talk to, I'm like, oh, I have to buy their book. And I go buy their book like right afterwards. And I'm like, okay, my reading list is like growing by the second. But it's
I know.
awesome.
I totally get that. The last book I just read was third in a series. And I told the author, I was like, I can't pick your book up, because I know if I pick it up, then I'll just read through it. And right now I need to get some writing done. So I can't like have you derail my stuff again, like my schedule. And then I read like a chapter, and then I read another, and I sat down and I ended up finishing it, because once I get into a book, it's all over. I'm pulled in. And so I finished it, and I did get some writing done, because I made myself do some writing first before I started in on it, but I read the second one. I was like, I need to find out what happens next. So yeah, so it derailed my schedule. So, but it's okay because I finished it, but there's only one more book left in her series. So
What author is that?
it is Cully Mack.
Very cool. I'll have to contact her. You'll have to give her me her contact information. Anyway,
I will.
It sounds like I'm the same kind of reader, and I think most people that read are get sucked in and are up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then
yes, I've done that plenty of times.
Tell my listeners where they can find your books.
I am on Amazon. And I think you're going to be posting the links. Hopefully.
Yes, I will be posting.
Okay. Yeah, because
your
it's
website
kind of a long link.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm on Amazon. I also have a website, and it's actually pretty easy to do. It's elizabethlavender.net. I tried to make it easy. So all of my stuff is on there. It's got all my links as far as to my books, to all of my social media, because I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that fun stuff. But my webpage has really everything, because it has how to sign up for my newsletters, and on my newsletters I keep up, it's got I do those only monthly, so if you sign up, you're not going to get like things like every week or something from me. I just do them once a month. That's why it takes me almost a whole weekend to do them. So but it's got like any giveaways that I'm doing. It also has drawn a blank. Like I said, I only do them once a month. So it has it also has like basically where I'm at as far as what progress I've made on the current book or something. It has a section with just like funny memes and stuff, like and then it has a section of like an author's perspective. So in that, not only does it tell you kind of where I'm at on the book, it also, I try to bridge something from my world to the Sunspear world. So it's not anything like worldwide, but just something that's happened in my world that that I think connects with the Sunspear world. Because what I find is a lot of the things that we have happen in our world, like personally, it's really it's akin to what the battles that we see in the Sunspear world. Because we think about, okay, they're trying to save the galaxy. Well, a lot of our battles they're not trying to save a galaxy or something, but they're internal battles or little battles that we deal with every day, kind of like what the girl has to deal with. So because a lot of her battles have to do with things that she's told that they're not true about herself. They're not and so those are things that we battle every day, whether it's at work that we're told something that's not true, that makes us feel bad, or something at home, that happened, or something funny that our kids do that it's like we put it in perspective, like that was really cool. So so I try to do something like that that encourages people to just keep on. So that's one section of it. The other section, I try to do something. Oh, I do 2 book recommends. That's the other section. And that's a huge section. I always read at least 2 books a month in my genre. And so I do a book recommend, and with that I have the review of the book and that information on how to get that book. And then the last section is I do a get to know somebody in the Sunspear. So yeah, so usually I'll do something. I was doing like a point of view thing from somebody in the Sunspear, like kind of like they were having a conversation with you. And then the next newsletter, I was revealing who it was. So it was kind of like you tried to guess. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten all those people. So now I've been doing like a quote from one of the books, and then you try to figure out who it was. And then the next newsletter, I'll reveal who it is. So so just something fun to try to get you to learn like a little bit more about the characters and what they're about. So
That sounds super awesome. I love that you put those nuggets in there about the books, but then also
Yeah.
about how you could relate it to your real life. And yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's my newsletter. But if you go on my webpage, it has place to sign up for that. So that's the best way to keep up with just like currently what's going on month to month on progress on the book. But I always keep my my website up to date on like what giveaways and that kind of thing. But the website also has the giveaways, but it also has a section where it has a short bio about Dante and the girl. So those are the only two that I put on there. So it kind of, like I said, it has a picture of what we would imagine Dante and the girl looking like. So, but it has kind of a short, like they were talking to you, kind of what goes through their mind. What else does it have on it? Oh, and it has a complete listing of the 3 books that are on now, how to get to them, the blurb for them, so covers. So pretty much the website is the best way to get to everything else.
Sounds like you have an amazing universe built here. So I think all our listeners will be like tapping away on our computer. I'm going to tap away on my computer right after this. So thank you. Thank you again for being here, Elizabeth, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.